What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Yant. In today's video, we're going to be covering over the age-old comical topic is if Goku is a bad father in Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super. To preface, I will not be covering anything in Dragon Ball Super because I do feel like the characters differ. Like they start to branch off from the original plan that Toriyama had. Considering he wrote the storyboard for it, but he didn't actually physically write these characters and how they act in Super. So I'm not going to be covering anything in Super. And obviously, he became a father in Dragon Ball Z, so Dragon Ball itself will not be brought up in this video either. So to start this off, my opinion is that Goku is a good father. He has flaws, but at the end of the day, what father doesn't have flaws? And the other person that everybody likes to say that his father has flaws of his own, and we'll get into that. But to start this off, at the very beginning of Z, it is told to us that Goku hasn't seen his friends since, the end of Dragon Ball. And they had never seen Gohan till that day that they were at Kami's house, or Master Roshi's house. Sorry. Master Roshi's house. And at the time, Gohan is around 4 years old, so we can say that at least they haven't seen him for 4 years. That's not counting the 9+ months for Chi-Chi being pregnant because they didn't even know Gohan was a thing, so they didn't even know about the pregnancy. So you can just assume that it's at least 5 years, just off rip. And so with that being said, just him being up in the mountains with Chi-Chi and eventually Gohan when he's born, I don't think somebody that's a bad father wouldn't want to stick around, especially in the early years where it's actually the hardest, in my opinion. Next, we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of counteract, we're kind of going in order of like how things happen in the series. Counteract the thing that people love to say that Piccolo is the father. Well, for one, Goku died for Gohan to live against Raditz because Raditz kidnapped Gohan and Goku ended up sacrificing himself to be able to defeat Raditz. But Piccolo then takes care of him, takes a hold of him. He's around 5 years because they have about a year time frame until the Saiyans arrive. And around 5 years old is where Gohan is. And this is the issue I have where people like to praise Piccolo for doing some of the things that Goku basically did himself. In my opinion, Piccolo's a little bit more egregious. Piccolo took a 5-year-old and who had never been out in the wilderness, never been on his own, to make a living the way that he was supposed to make a living, and he kind of just throws him out there. Yes, he is at a distance, watching it, making sure nothing happens, but it still doesn't defeat the thing that he legit just left the 5-year-old out there. Now, Dragon Ball's 5-year-olds are different from our 5-year-olds, but it's still something crazy when you think about it. So, I don't think you can condemn Goku for some of his actions and praise Piccolo. Next, we're gonna go ahead and jump all the way. We're gonna jump all the way on to the Cell arc, where Gohan and Goku legit just spent the 9 days leading up to the Cell games, literally just hanging out, relaxing. One of the few times we've ever seen like peaceful moments in the actual manga anime that just played out. And so they're just out, just hanging around, relaxing, playing games and whatnot. So that's just another indication of Goku caring, Goku wanting to, valuing his son's time. Going into that with the Cell games, this is the big thing that people have an issue with, is Goku giving the sense of being to Cell right before he fights Gohan. And a lot of people don't realize the reason that he does this is one of his flaws. He always likes a fair fight. He likes things being fair. And he also knows that he's super confident in what Gohan's abilities are. So that's where it becomes like, this is kind of what I go back to what he did, or what I'm saying, you can't condemn Goku, but, praise Piccolo. Piccolo believed Gohan would be all right going out in the wilderness, and he watched from afar. Goku had somewhat of the same thing. He figured it doesn't matter if Cell was at full power or full strength, that Gohan would be able to easily take care of him because of what he's seen in the time chamber with Gohan showing a glimpse of Super Saiyan 2. Unfortunately, he didn't account for that Gohan is not that same fighter with the same mental capabilities that Goku has, because Goku had been fighting his entire life, and that's all he knows. So adversity isn't something that's new to him. It's new to Gohan. He just witnessed Cell basically beat his father, and he thinks he's still weaker than his father. But regardless, it still shows like the crazy amounts of confidence that Goku has in Gohan to think that even a fully powered Cell that had beat him, basically, that Gohan should be able to take care of him no problem. And Goku later on feels super bad about it because it comes to that realization that he doesn't have the same confidence that I think that he should have. It's not that Gohan can't do what Goku thinks he can do. It's just that he's not mentally prepared to do it. And that's just one of the father flaws, like had way too much confidence. There's plenty of times where like fathers and their kids like sporting events, they're super confident. They boast about their kid, the whole 9 yards. They think their kid's a superstar. And the kid might actually have glimpses of being a superstar, but the kid might not have that same mentality. And it sometimes, backfires on the dad. It's just one of those things. And like I said, I don't think that he should be condemned for it, because later on, when he's given the chance to sacrifice himself for Gohan, he does just that. And granted, you can say he was doing it to save the entire world, but he still made a point to do it. And he made a point to stay dead. And this is where a lot of people be like, well, why would you rather stay dead than spend time with your family? He made a logical decision. He made a good decision. He noticed, hey, the Saiyans were because of him, which led them to have to go to the Namek for the Dragon Balls, where they run into Frieza, and then they come back. And the androids is all about because of what Goku being there. So he just saw a pattern that he was the common denominator as to why all these bad things are happening, why these people are dying, why these people are getting hurt, why he had to, go to great lengths to always try and protect the world, which he had no problem himself protecting the world. But when he realizes that he's the issue with why these things happen to the world, he has to make the logical decision and, make the sacrifice. Also, Toriyama did want to end Goku Saga in the Cell arc. That thing has been beat to death, and if you didn't know, then you do know that, or now that Toriyama wanted Gohan to take that lead, and he kind of just wanted to end the series after the Cell arc, but they pushed for him to continue. So we got Gohan trying to be the main focal point in the Buu arc, which ended up, not being perfectly thought out, because eventually Goku comes back into the fray as a main character, and we have what we have to this day. But that's not to say that, the thought wasn't there. So, just not to get too harped up on, oh, well, he sacrificed himself, but then he came right back. The series had a different viewpoint at the time when it was written. It was kind of like a retcon, I guess you can say, but not really a retcon. And in the Buu arc, Gohan's pretty much an adult at this point. I mean, he's in high school, but he's pretty much an adult as far as Dragon Ball standards go. But even then, he still showcases that immense confidence that he knows that Gohan's been slacking on his training, but he still sees that Gohan is literally the guy. He can still surpass Goku and Vegeta. And it's the same way for Goten. He has immense confidence in Goten as well. Unfortunately, Goten kind of gets thrown to the back burner, and I think that's just because I feel like they wanted Goten just to feel like a mini Goku and nostalgic throwback. That's why he kind of is identical to Goku. And I feel like, but they missed the mark on actually like fleshing out his character. But nevertheless, you still saw that Goku cared about both his kids, and you see the heartfelt moment where they're at the tournament when he came back for his one day and he, meets Goten for the first time, and there's just like, a lovable scene and whatnot. But a lot of people just don't, they choose to ignore that stuff, and they only look at the Piccolo stuff where Piccolo, sacrificed himself for Gohan in the Saiyan arc, which is pretty much the same thing that Goku did numerous times, might add. He died twice for Gohan's sake. One, you can sit there, you could argue it's for the world because it was Cell was going to blow the world up, but nevertheless, he still did save Gohan as well. And people's cop-out answer will be like, well, Goku is just a naturally good person, and he wants to protect everybody, so him protecting his son individually doesn't really make him a good father. You would have a point in saying this, but at the same time, I still think that Goku cares so much about his family as well, because he himself did not have a family growing up. He had Grandpa Gohan, and outside of that, he only had his friends growing up. So when he was able to finally get a family, he was able to have something that's actually his and something that he latched onto. And at the end of the day, he's just not like, it's not in his character to be the super family man that people would want him to be. That's kind of what Gohan's role is as an adult. You get to see that parallel where Goku is always on go. He cares for his family immensely, but he's doing his own thing. You can say that's bad. You can say that's good. It's all entirely up to your personal opinion when you're watching the show or reading the manga. Whereas Gohan is he just wants to be a family man. He wants to be a scholar. I didn't want to touch into Dragon Ball Super, but I'm just going to touch on it briefly. Like with the recent movie Superhero, you see like he's content with being a family man, even though he himself has the same flaws where he neglects Pan. Where he's pawning it off on Piccolo. Hey Piccolo, can you do this? Can you do this for Pan? Hey Piccolo, can you go grab Pan? Pan needs this. Pan needs that. He himself falls into that same trap that Goku falls into, except it's different. Gohan's stuck into his work, whereas Goku is stuck on his training. Both care for their family immensely. Both would do anything for their family, but it's still a debate that people think that they don't care for their family or that they're not good fathers, but Piccolo is. Granted, Piccolo does treat Pan a lot nicer than he did Gohan at that age, but that's a completely different story. Like I said, the characters are a little bit different and the tropes are not the same. But that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in this video. If you like the content, or if you want to have a comment on if you disagree with anything I said or agree with it, or you just want to spark up some other kind of conversation for another video, then just drop that in the comments and let me know. Like always, all right, y'all, peace.